If you started acting like you're the best, how different would your life look? Not pretending, not being fake. Just waking up and moving through your day like your time matters, your voice matters, and you're not waiting for someone else to tell you you're good enough. This isn't about comparing yourself to anyone, it's about finally backing yourself without hesitation. Most people live like they're replaceable, like their goals can wait, like their presence doesn't really change anything, and that's exactly why nothing changes. This video is not here to hype you up for 5 minutes. It's here to reset how you see yourself. If you've been tired of overthinking, shrinking down, or letting your potential sit untouched, this is for you. Because starting today, you don't just talk about being your best, you act like it, and when you do that, everything starts to shift. Stay here. This will be the realest thing you hear today. Chapter 1. Carry yourself like you belong anywhere. Carry yourself like you belong anywhere. Because the way you walk into a room decides how life responds to you long before you ever speak. People read your posture, your pace, your eyes, your tone. They feel your belief before they hear your words. And here is the honest truth most people never hear clearly enough. You do not rise to the level of your hopes. You fall to the level of how you see yourself on an ordinary day. Not on a great day, not when things are easy. On a regular normal day, when nobody is clapping for you, act as if you are the best. Not in arrogance, not in noise, not in trying to dominate others, but in quiet certainty. When you believe you belong anywhere, you stop asking for approval. You stop shrinking your voice. You stop walking into places hoping you will not be noticed. You start walking in knowing your presence has value because you worked on it. Confidence does not come from pretending. It comes from preparation and self-respect practiced daily. Most people wait. They to feel ready. They wait to feel confident. They wait for someone else to confirm they are good enough. Waiting is expensive. It costs years. It costs chances. It costs self-trust. The person who carries themselves like they belong anywhere understands something simple. Readiness is built by action, not by waiting. Confidence grows when you show up even when your hands feel uncertain and your mind is loud. When you walk into a room and you doubt yourself, your shoulders drop, your breath shortens, and your eyes search for safety. People feel. When you walk in believing you belong, your back straightens, your breath slows, and your eyes meet others without apology. Nothing about that is fake. It is a decision to respect yourself first. You do not need to be better than others to belong. You need to be solid with yourself. Comparison weakens you, because it puts your worth in someone else's hands. The moment you compare, you give away control. Acting as if no one is better than you means you stop measuring yourself against others and start measuring yourself against your own standards. Did you keep your word today? Did you show discipline when it mattered? Did you improve something small but important? People with inner authority do not rush. They do not explain themselves unnecessarily. They listen fully and speak clearly. They take responsibility for their energy. They understand that every room they enter is neutral until they decide how they will show up. You do not need to dominate a space to belong in it. Calm certainty is enough. Think about how many times you walked into a place and felt small. A meeting, a classroom, a social gathering, a workplace. Nothing actually made you small except the story you told yourself in that moment. That story shapes your behavior, and behavior shapes results. Change the story and behavior follows. Carry yourself like you belong anywhere means you prepare your mind before you step into life. You remind yourself that you earned your place by effort, by learning, by showing up again and again. You are not there by accident. You are not lucky to be present. You are there because you chose to grow. When you respect yourself, others feel it. Not everyone will like it, and that is fine. Approval is not the goal. Self-respect is. When you stop trying to be liked, you gain freedom. You speak more honestly. You act more directly. You stop apologizing for existing. Belonging starts inside. If you do not feel comfortable with yourself, no room will ever feel right. Work on the relationship you have with your own standards. Raise them quietly. Keep promises to yourself, especially the small ones. Small wins change how you carry yourself. They change your walk, your voice, your decisions. There is a difference between confidence and noise. Noise tries to cover insecurity. Confidence does not need to announce itself. It shows up early. It listens more than it talks. It stays calm under pressure. It owns mistakes without drama and corrects them with action. Act as if you are the best means you hold yourself to a high level of behavior, even when no one is watching. You do the work when it is boring. You show discipline when motivation is absent. That private behavior builds public confidence. You cannot fake that. When challenges appear, and they will, you do not collapse inward. You do not ask why this always happens to you. You ask what this demands from you. That shift changes everything. It turns problems into training. It builds strength that shows in your posture and your presence. People who belong anywhere do not chase attention. They focus on contribution. How can I add value here? How can I improve this situation? How can I show professionalism and care? Value earns respect faster than words ever will. Your body listens to your thoughts. If you constantly tell yourself you are behind, you will move like it. If you tell yourself you belong, you will stand like it. Speak like it. Decide like it. The mind leads the body. Train your inner dialogue carefully. Do not confuse humility with self-doubt. You can be humble and still know your worth. Humility is knowing you can always improve. Self-doubt is believing you are less than others. One fuels growth. The other drains energy. When you walk into a room, carry calm focus. Feel your feet on the ground. Slow your breath. Lift your eyes. Remind yourself that you are prepared to learn and prepared to contribute. That mindset alone changes how people respond to you. Belonging is not given. It is claimed through consistent behavior. Show up on time. Keep your word. Respect others without putting yourself below them. These simple actions build an unshakable inner base. Life responds to how you carry yourself. Opportunities come to those who look ready. Responsibility goes to those who seem capable. Trust flows to those who trust themselves first. Act as if you are the best, not in ego, but in responsibility. The best take ownership. The best keep improving. The best do not wait for perfect conditions. They create progress with what they have. If you want to change how the world treats you, change how you treat yourself. Walk into your day with intention. Speak with clarity. Move with purpose. Believe you belong because you are doing the work to deserve it. Carry yourself like you belong anywhere, and eventually you will realize something powerful. You were never asking for permission. You were building proof, and proof changes everything. Chapter 2. Move with certainty before proof appears. Move with certainty before proof appears, because life does not reward hesitation the way people hope it will. Most people wait for a sign. They wait for confidence to arrive. They wait until results show up, so they can finally believe in themselves. That order is backwards. Proof follows action. Confidence follows movement. Certainty is not something you receive. It is something you practice before the evidence shows up. Human beings want safety. The mind looks for guarantees. It wants to know the outcome before it commits. But growth never works that way. Every meaningful step you take in life begins with uncertainty. A new job, a new habit, a new standard, a new version of yourself. None of these come with proof in advance. They require a decision made in the absence of comfort. The people who change their lives are not braver by nature. They simply stop waiting for reassurance. They understand that doubt will always be present at the beginning. Waiting for doubt to disappear is like waiting for the wind to stop before you start walking. It wastes time and weakens belief. Certainty is not loud. It is not dramatic. It is quiet and firm. It shows up as a steady walk, a calm voice, a clear choice. You decide what you will do, and you do it without needing everyone to agree. That inner decision creates momentum. Momentum creates proof. Think about how confidence actually grows. It grows when you act and survive, when you try and learn, when you take responsibility and adjust. Every time you move forward, despite not knowing the full outcome, your mind learns a new lesson. It learns that you can handle more than you thought. That lesson builds trust with yourself. Most people struggle not because they lack ability, but because they demand certainty too early. They want to see the full path before taking the first step. Life only shows the next step after you move. That is the price of progress. Moving with certainty does not mean you know everything. It means you trust your ability to figure things out along the way. It means you believe you can adapt. That belief changes how you show up. You stop over-explaining. You stop asking for constant feedback. You stop second-guessing every move. They assume you know what you are doing even when you are still learning. Certainty invites trust. Hesitation invites doubt. The inner voice that says wait a little longer is rarely protecting you. Most of the time it is protecting comfort. Comfort keeps life small. Growth demands discomfort. Acting before proof appears trains you to live beyond fear. Fear does not disappear when you act. It simply loses control. You learn that fear can exist without running your life. That realization is freeing. You stop trying to remove fear and start moving with it present. Every skill you respect was once awkward. Every confident person you admire once felt unsure. They did not wait for mastery to begin. They began and allowed mastery to develop through repetition. Certainty is built by choosing direction, not perfection. You pick a path, you commit to learning. You adjust without quitting. That consistency sends a message to your mind that you are serious. The mind responds by reducing resistance. People often say they want confidence. What they really want is permission to avoid risk. Confidence does not come from avoiding risk. It comes from facing it and realizing you are still standing. Moving with certainty also means accepting responsibility for results. You stop blaming timing. You stop blaming people. You stop blaming conditions. Ownership sharpens focus. Focus improves results. There is a deep emotional shift that happens when you act without proof. You stop needing external validation. You begin validating yourself through effort. That builds self-respect. Self-respect shows up as stronger boundaries and clearer decisions. Uncertainty will test you. Results may come slowly. That is where many people quit. They mistake delay for failure. Progress is often quiet at first. The work is happening beneath the surface. Skills are forming. Identity is shifting. Stay consistent long enough and results catch up. When you move with certainty, you also give others permission to do the same. Your actions speak louder than advice. People feel inspired by those who act despite doubt because it reminds them of their own potential. Certainty before proof requires patience, not passive patience, but active patience. You keep showing up. You keep refining. You stay engaged even when rewards are delayed. That patience builds emotional strength. The strongest confidence is not built on praise. It is built on evidence you created through effort. Every day you act despite uncertainty, you add another brick to that foundation. You will never feel completely ready. Readiness is not a feeling. It is a decision. Decide to act. Decide to learn. Decide to stay consistent. Let proof arrive later. Life opens to those who move first. Opportunities rarely wait for perfect conditions. They respond to momentum. When you move with certainty, doors begin to appear that were invisible before. Train yourself to act when clarity is partial. Trust grows from use. The more you practice decisive action, the easier it becomes. The mind learns to follow your lead instead of resisting it. You do not need to rush. You need to commit. Slow, consistent action with certainty beats fast action with doubt. Calm determination outlasts excitement. Move with certainty before proof appears, and you will discover something powerful. The proof you were waiting for was not outside of you. It was built by you step by step through action. That realization changes how you approach everything. You stop asking if you can. You start asking how you will. That shift turns potential into progress and effort into identity. Chapter 3. Treat your time like it is valuable. Treat your time like it is valuable because it's the one thing you never get back. You can lose money and earn it again. You can lose energy and restore it with rest. But once time passes, it's gone. And the way you treat your time reveals how much you value yourself. People who know their worth don't waste hours doing things that don't matter. They don't spend their lives reacting to everything around them. They decide what matters and protect it. Every day is a chance, not a guarantee. You wake up with a certain amount of hours, and you choose how to spend them. That choice builds your future. Not your intentions, not your hopes, not your potential. Your choices. Time is not just minutes and hours. It's energy. It's attention. It's direction. If you give your time to the wrong things, you end up with the wrong results. No matter how talented you are. Look around at the life you have now. Everything in it, your health, your habits, your relationships, your progress, it's all built from how you've used your time. If you're proud of your life, it's because you've been investing in things that matter. If you're frustrated, it's not because you're broken or unlucky. It's because your time has been spent on the wrong things, with the wrong focus, and often without intention. People say they don't have time, but most of the time, that's not true. What they really mean is they haven't decided how important something is to them. They haven't taken ownership of their calendar. They haven't learned to say no. Saying no is a skill. It protects your focus. It creates space for the things that matter. If you can't say no to what's distracting you, you'll never have time for what builds you. Wasting time often doesn't feel like wasting time in the moment. That's what makes it dangerous. Hours disappear scrolling. Days disappear complaining. Weeks disappear waiting for the right moment. And then months go by and you wonder why nothing's changed. That's the cost of treating your time like it's cheap. Time doesn't ask for your permission to keep moving. You can delay your goals, but time won't delay with you. It keeps going. And every day you spend stuck or lost or distracted is a day you don't get to live again. That's not pressure. It's clarity. When you understand this, you begin to live differently. You stop giving time to things that drain you. You stop putting off what really matters. You stop treating your life like it's practice. People who value their time don't rush. They're not always busy, but they are intentional. They know what they're doing and why they're doing it. They start their day with direction. They don't fill every moment with noise. They leave space for thinking, for planning, for reflection, because those are the moments that create better decisions, better actions, better outcomes. Treating your time like it's valuable doesn't mean being perfect. It doesn't mean working non-stop. It means you stop taking your time for granted. You realize that rest is valuable. Learning is valuable. Conversations that build connection are valuable. Growth takes time, but it only happens if you give it space to happen. When you look at your daily routine, Ask yourself a hard question. Is this routine designed by me, or is it just happening to me? Are you choosing your time or reacting to everything that wants your attention? If your phone controls your day, you've already lost hours before lunch. If your inbox decides your focus, your priorities are being set by other people's agendas. You have to take control of your time before someone else does, because someone else will. There are 100 things trying to pull you away from what matters. Distractions are not just entertainment. They're time traps, and the more time you give to them, the more your goals start to feel impossible. But it's not that they're impossible. It's that you're spending the hours you need to build them on things that lead nowhere. Productivity isn't about doing more, it's about doing what matters. 1 hour of focused effort builds more than 10 hours of scattered activity. When you treat your time like it's valuable, you work with focus. You say no without guilt. You stop apologizing for having priority. You stop trying to be available for everything and everyone. A valuable life is built from valuable time. And valuable time starts with boundaries. You don't have to explain your goals to everyone. You don't owe anyone unlimited access to your day. You are allowed to choose growth over comfort, discipline over distraction, purpose over popularity. Look at your habits. What you do daily is who you become. 5 minutes of planning can save 5 hours of confusion. 30 minutes of learning can change the direction of your whole week. But you have to treat those minutes like they matter, because they do. Most people want change without change. They want results without giving up what wastes their time. But you can't have both. You choose your future by choosing your focus. Time is the most honest feedback you'll ever get. You can lie to yourself about what matters, but your calendar tells the truth. Your results tell the truth. If you say health is important but give no time to it, that's the truth. If you say goals matter but spend your weekends avoiding them, that's the truth. Don't be afraid to look at your truth. Use it. Adjust it. Build from it. Treating time like it's valuable means you take yourself seriously. You act like your goals matter. You stop making excuses. You stop blaming the world. You start asking better questions. What is the best use of my time today? What will build me forward? What needs to go so I can grow? And yes, there will be days when you slip. That's human. You don't need to be perfect, but you need to be honest. The gap between who you are and who you want to be is filled with how you use your time. Time is not running out to scare you. It's reminding you to wake up, to stop wasting your hours waiting to feel ready. You don't need more time. You need to value the time you already have. That shift changes everything. It makes you sharper. It makes you clearer. It makes you stronger. You start living on purpose. You start respecting the day in front of you. You stop being impressed by distraction and start being proud of discipline. You stop looking for easy and start building meaningful. You stop putting life on hold. Treat your time like it is valuable, and your life starts to reflect that value. Your mind gets clearer. Your results get stronger. Your confidence grows, not because you had more hours, but because you stopped wasting the ones you already had. Chapter 4. Stop shrinking to make others comfortable. Stop shrinking to make others comfortable, because every time you lower yourself to fit into someone else's version of you, you disconnect from your real strength. You are not here to play small so people around you feel safe. You are not here to hide what makes you powerful just because others might misunderstand it. Your job is not to make others feel better about their lack of effort by holding back your own growth. Your job is to show up fully, live boldly, and set the standard for your own life. You were not born to blend in. You were born to bring something different to the table, but many people grow up learning to minimize themselves, to quiet their voice, to ignore their opinions, to soften their ambition. Why? Because they fear being too much, too intense, too motivated, too honest, too focused. So they shrink. They hide. They play down their success. They silence their excitement. They accept less than they deserve, just to stay liked. But here's the truth. Making yourself smaller for the comfort of others never builds real connection. It builds resentment. It creates internal tension. It weakens self-respect. You cannot grow while constantly holding yourself back. You cannot become more while trying to stay less. The need to shrink often starts with a fear of rejection. A belief that if you fully express yourself, someone will leave, someone will judge, someone will question your worth. But that fear is not a sign to shrink. It's a sign to get stronger, because anyone who needs you to be less so they can feel more is not truly for you. People who respect themselves don't ask you to hold back. They want you to shine because they're working on their own light too. When you shrink, you teach others how to treat you. You tell them it's okay to overlook your needs. You say yes when you mean no. You go along with things that don't align with your values. You pretend you're okay when you're not. That's not kindness. That's self-abandonment. Real strength is not in being agreeable all the time. It's in being honest. It's in standing up for your ideas, even when they make others uncomfortable. It's in holding your boundaries when people want to cross them. It's in showing confidence without waiting for permission. You have gifts others don't have. Talents, perspectives, energy that is uniquely yours. If you hide those things, you rob the world of what you're capable of. That's not humility. That's fear pretending to be humility. You don't have to be loud to be strong. You don't have to dominate to be powerful, but you do need to be firm in who you are. You need to speak with clarity. You need to walk with intention. You need to stop apologizing for being focused, disciplined, or driven. Some people won't understand your choices. They'll question your effort. They'll call you intense or difficult. Let them. That's not your problem. That's their discomfort with standards they don't want to live by. You're not here to meet people at their comfort zone. You're here to rise, and rising doesn't require approval. When you stop shrinking, you'll lose some people, but you'll find better ones. People who respect your time, people who celebrate your growth, people who challenge you instead of pulling you back. But those people don't come until you show them the real version of you. The version that doesn't hide, the version that doesn't ask for permission, the version that moves forward, even if it makes the room a little quieter. Don't water down your voice so someone else can feel smarter. Don't hold back your questions so someone else feels confident. Don't dismiss your progress because someone else chose to stay in place. You are not responsible for how others respond to your truth. You are not for everyone. And that's good. If everyone agrees with you, you're probably not saying anything that matters. If everyone likes you, you're probably not setting any boundaries. If everyone feels comfortable around you, you're probably not challenging anything. And without challenge, there's no growth. Think of the moments you felt most alive. They weren't the times you stayed silent. They weren't the times you agreed just to keep the peace. They were the times you spoke up, the times you stood, the times you followed what felt right even when it wasn't easy. When you choose to stop shrinking, you'll face resistance, not just from others, but from your own mind. That voice will say, "This is too much. They won't like this. You should stay quiet." That voice is not true, it's habit. It's a pattern that was built over time, by fear, by rejection, by trying to be accepted, and like all habits, it can be changed. Start by noticing when you dim yourself. Pay attention to the moments you pull back. Ask why. What are you afraid will happen if you fully show up? Then challenge that fear. Test it. Speak anyway. Take up space anyway. Express your opinion even when it shakes. You are allowed to take up space. You are allowed to have a strong presence. You are allowed to speak with certainty. You are allowed to hold high expectations. You are allowed to protect your peace. You don't owe anyone a watered-down version of you. Your strength will make some people uncomfortable. Your ambition will challenge some people's laziness. Your clarity will expose some people's confusion. That's not your responsibility to fix. Your job is to keep growing, keep speaking, and keep becoming the version of you that no longer fits inside the box you once built. Stop shrinking to make others comfortable, because that comfort comes at the cost of your own identity. And nothing is worth trading your truth for acceptance. The right people don't want you to shrink, they want you to rise. And the people who don't, well, they were never meant to lead you forward anyway. Start standing tall in every room you walk into. Start speaking as if your voice matters, because it does. Start acting like your life has purpose, because it does. You don't need to explain your growth. You don't need to hide your strength. You don't need to apologize for taking yourself seriously. Every time you show up fully, you rewrite the rules. You remind others that they can do the same. That courage spreads. That honesty builds trust. That presence changes the environment. Be the example not of perfection, but of someone who refuses to disappear just to make things easier for everyone else. That kind of leadership is rare, but it's real, and it starts with one decision: to never shrink again. Chapter 5. Choose bold action over silent potential. Choose bold action over silent potential, because potential without action is just a quiet dream that slowly fades while life moves forward without waiting. Every person carries potential. Every person has thoughts, ideas, talents, and instincts for more, but most never act on them. Not because they're lazy, not because they're incapable, but because they hesitate. They want the right moment. They wait to be more certain. They overthink instead of stepping forward. And over time, they become more comfortable with the idea of what they could be than the reality of what they're willing to do. There's a point where you need to stop preparing and start moving. You don't need to talk about what you might do one day. You don't need to keep convincing yourself that you're capable. If you believe you have something to offer, something to create, something to build, then act like it. Let your decisions speak louder than your thoughts. Let your movement speak louder than your explanation, because nothing changes until you act. Not your confidence, not your direction, not your identity. Bold action doesn't mean reckless moves. It means clear moves. It means you do the thing that makes you uncomfortable because you know staying still will cost more. It means you raise your hand when your mind tells you to stay quiet. It means you apply, ask, build, speak, lead, or create, even if you don't feel 100% ready. Because ready is not a feeling. It's a choice. The world doesn't respond to ideas that stay in your head. It doesn't respond to quiet potential hidden behind fear. It responds to action. People take notice when you take yourself seriously enough to stop hesitating. Every bold move you make teaches your mind that you're the kind of person who follows through. That internal shift builds momentum. It's not about achieving everything overnight. It's about deciding you're done holding yourself back. The gap between where you are and where you want to be will never be filled by thinking more. It's only filled by doing. Bold action builds experience. Experience builds clarity. Clarity builds direction. But that cycle can't start until you're willing to act without perfect answers. You can't wait for guarantees and expect progress. You have to be willing to try and adjust. Most people don't lack ability. They lack the courage to make a move without applause. They want someone to tell them it will all work out. But bold action often happens in silence. No one claps at the beginning. No one sees your inner resistance. No one celebrates your first step. You have to do it for yourself. There's nothing inspiring about wasted potential. It doesn't earn you more time. It doesn't give you a better life. It just fills your mind with frustration. You know what you're capable of. You feel it. You see it when you're alone, thinking about what you really want. But that's not enough. Feeling potential is not the same as living it. Bold action is what takes that feeling and turns it into a result, into a story, into something you can build on. You don't have to make perfect decisions. You just have to make real ones. Bold action is about progress, not perfection. It's about showing up and letting life teach you what you need to learn next. And when you do that long enough, you stop needing to feel ready. You stop waiting for signs. You become the person who leads, instead of wonders. The pain of missed potential never fully disappears. It shows up in small ways: doubt, regret, distraction, comparison. But the moment you start choosing action over delay, you begin changing that story. You stop telling yourself you'll try someday. You stop accepting average. You stop pretending that you're fine where you are. You admit you want more, and you begin doing something about it. You don't need to do something massive to be bold. Bold can be quiet. Bold can be small. Bold can be personal. Bold means doing the uncomfortable thing that moves you forward when it would be easier to wait. That's where strength grows. That's where identity shifts. That's where change begins. Think about your own life right now. What have you been sitting on? What goal or idea have you kept in your mind but never acted on? What are you waiting for? What are you afraid will happen if you start? And now ask, what will happen if you don't? Most of the fear is imagined. Most of the resistance is habit. You've spent years practicing hesitation. So of course action feels foreign. But you can break that habit with one move. Then another. Then another. Over time, bold action becomes normal. It becomes your new standard. You don't need more opinions. You don't need more permission. You need to move. Even if it's messy. Even if it's awkward. Even if it feels strange at first. That's the path to progress. That's how people grow. Not by thinking harder, but by doing more. You won't always get it right. That's okay. Bold action includes failure. It includes learning. It includes setbacks. But every time you choose to move instead of stay still, you separate yourself from the version of you that hesitates. You become someone different, someone stronger, someone more capable of leading their own life. You don't have to be the smartest. You don't have to be the most talented. But you do have to be the one who moves. Because action beats potential every time. Talent means nothing if you hide it. Ideas mean nothing if you never test them. Confidence means nothing if you only feel it in private. The only thing that counts is what you do with what you have. The people who live with pride are not the ones who waited for everything to be perfect. They're the ones who started when it was. They're the ones who looked fear in the face and moved anyway. They're the ones who stopped waiting for guarantees and decided to create their own momentum. Bold action is the decision to stop wasting what you could. It's the moment you stop living in your head and start building something real. It's the shift from thinking to doing, from hoping to building, from wishing to becoming. That choice changes everything. You owe it to yourself to stop hiding behind what you could do and start showing what you're willing to do. You owe it to your future to stop hesitating and start moving. You don't need a better, you need a better habit. A habit of action. A habit of courage. A habit of doing the thing, even when it's hard. Choose bold action over silent potential, because one day you'll look back and you'll either remember the chances you took, or the ones you never did, and only one of those stories builds a life you're proud to live. Chapter 6. Respond to life with inner authority. Respond to life with inner authority, because the world is always going to test you. It will push you. It will pull at your attention, your energy, and your identity. But the way you respond decides who you become. Not the event itself, not the people involved, not the difficulty of the moment. Your response defines the direction of your life, and if you don't lead yourself, someone else will do it for you. Inner authority is not about being loud. It's not about trying to control others. It's about knowing what you stand for before life pressures you to forget. It's about having clarity inside yourself so that when challenges come, and they will, you don't panic, you don't fold, and you don't betray your values just to feel safe. Life doesn't come with constant stability. People will disappoint you. Plans will fall apart. Expectations won't be met. But you are not required to react emotionally to everything that happens. You are not a puppet for your environment. You are not here to be dragged around by every opinion or every inconvenience. You have the ability to choose your response, and that is where your power begins. People with inner authority don't need to prove themselves. They don't need to argue to be heard. They don't chase approval. They move with intention. They speak with purpose. They act with alignment. That doesn't mean they always feel fearless. It means they've trained themselves to respond instead of react. Inner authority comes from building self-respect, from keeping promises to yourself, from knowing that when you say something, you mean it. When you set a goal, you'll pursue it. When you face resistance, you'll stay grounded. That self-trust becomes your anchor. It's not built through inspiration, it's built through consistency. You will not always be able to control what happens to you, but you can control what it builds in you. You can take setbacks and use them to sharpen your discipline. You can take discomfort and use it to grow your resilience. That is responding with inner authority, refusing to be a victim of circumstances you are strong enough to overcome. Your emotions are valid, but they don't have to lead. You can feel anger without losing control. You can feel doubt without quitting. You can feel fear without giving it power. Leading yourself through difficulty doesn't mean you never feel weak. It means you don't let weakness make your decision. When you develop inner authority, people start to treat you differently, not because you demand it, but because you carry yourself in a way that commands respect. You're clear. You're consistent. You're not easily shaken. That energy sets a tone, and others feel it. You stop asking people what they think before you've even thought for yourself. You stop adjusting your goals based on someone's temporary opinion. You stop trying to be accepted by everyone and start becoming someone you respect first. The world is full of noise. Inner authority is how you stay focused through it all. There will always be people who question you, who doubt your path, who think you should live differently. Let them. Their noise doesn't matter if your values are clear. If you know who you are, what you want, and why you do what you do, you don't need to justify it constantly. When you respond to life with inner authority, you don't get stuck in drama. You don't fight every battle. You don't explain yourself to people who aren't trying to understand you. You know your time is valuable. You know your energy needs to go to things that move you forward, not distractions that keep you stuck. Inner authority means you take full ownership. You stop blaming people. You stop waiting for help. You stop hoping life will just fix itself. You become the person who steps in, takes control, and takes action. That mindset is rare. But it's what separates leaders from followers. It's what turns potential into progress. Most people are waiting. They're waiting for things to get easier. They're waiting for people to treat them better. They're waiting for motivation to return. But people with inner authority don't wait. They decide. They adjust. They adapt. They choose what they will be, no matter what's happening around them. You can't control every outcome, but you can control how you carry yourself. You can't make everyone agree with you, but you can walk with confidence anyway. You can't guarantee life will be fair, but you can choose to respond with strength and clarity every time it's not. Inner authority doesn't mean being perfect. It means you're honest. It means when you fail, you admit it. You take the lesson. You keep moving. No shame, no guilt, just growth. That kind of responsibility is powerful. It puts your focus on what you can do instead of what you can't control. The stronger your inner authority becomes, the less approval you need. You stop chasing likes. You stop adjusting to be accepted. You stop shrinking your standards just to fit in. You realize that being respected is better than being liked by everyone. Your life gets better when you raise your expectations, not just for others, but for yourself. Responding with authority means you hold yourself to a higher level. You show up with discipline. You speak with purpose. You walk with direction. You don't rely on external hype. You build internal drive. People will try to test you. Life will hand you pressure, but pressure doesn't break you when you've done the work to be grounded. It reveals your training. And when you've built a foundation of self-trust, you don't panic when the test comes. You respond with calm strength. You can't fake inner authority. It shows in your tone, your posture, your habits, your decisions. It shows in how you act when no one is watching, in what you do when it's hard, in what you don't say when it's easy to react. You either lead yourself or you don't. Decide to be the kind of person who doesn't flinch every time life throws a challenge your way. Be the kind of person who's clear on their standards. Be the one who doesn't compromise values just because something's hard. That's what builds a reputation. That's what builds a legacy. That's what builds the life most people only talk about. You weren't born with inner authority. Nobody is. It's built daily. It's built every time you choose discipline over comfort. Every time you act instead of complain. Every time you hold your word. Every time you reset after falling short. Every time you stop explaining and start doing. So respond to life with inner authority, not because it's easy, but because you respect yourself enough to do it. Because you've decided you're done letting the world decide who you are. Because you know that power doesn't come from outside. It starts inside. And once it's built there, no one can take it away. Chapter 7. Back your decisions without seeking approval. Back your decisions without seeking approval, because the moment you constantly look for someone else to validate your choices, you hand over your power. You let someone else decide how far you go, how fast you grow, and what version of you gets to lead your life. That approval you're waiting for, the nod, the thumbs up, the yes, you're doing the right thing, it's slowing you down more than any failure ever could. It keeps you second-guessing. It keeps you stuck in loops of doubt. It keeps your confidence small and your actions hesitant. There's nothing wrong with asking for insight or listening to trusted advice. But when your actions depend on everyone's agreement, you lose touch with your own direction. You start making decisions based on what feels safe, not what feels right. And the truth is, people will never fully understand your path. They weren't given your vision. They don't feel your fire. They haven't seen what you've seen. So their feedback comes from their experience, not yours. You have to build the courage to trust yourself without needing to be understood by everyone. Not because you think you're always right, but because you're willing to take responsibility either way. Backing your decisions doesn't mean being stubborn. It means being committed. You made a choice based on what you knew, what you felt, and what aligned with where you're trying to go. That's enough to move forward. Waiting for others to approve your path is a slow way to live. One person says go, another says stop. One says it's too risky, another says you should have started sooner. It never ends. And eventually, your momentum dies. Not because you weren't capable, but because you gave too much weight to voices that don't live with the outcome of your choices. You live with your results, not them. You deal with the consequences, not them. You pay the price for your hesitation, not them. So why do they get the final say? There is a moment in every person's life when they must decide to lead themselves. That decision comes with pressure. It comes with risk. But it also comes with power. It's the shift from needing support to building self-trust. From asking what others think to asking what you believe. From looking outside for guidance to looking inside for direction. The most confident people you know didn't wait for permission. They acted. They made mistakes. They owned their choices. And that's how they got strong. That's how they became someone you now look up to. You don't admire them because they were approved by everyone. You admire them because they had the nerve to do what others wouldn't. When you start backing your own decisions, you'll face resistance. People might not like it. They might question you. They might distance themselves, but none of that is your responsibility. You're not here to be universally liked. You're here to live a life that means something to you. You're here to grow. You're here to lead yourself, not to please the crowd. Approval addiction is one of the quietest traps people fall into. It sounds like, what if they think I'm wrong? What if they stop supporting me? What if I fail and they say I told you so? But the more you feed those questions, the smaller your life becomes. You end up building your future around someone else's fears, not your own strength. Backing your decisions builds identity. It teaches your brain that your voice matters, that your judgment is valid, that you can figure things out even when it's messy. You stop asking, "Can I do this?" and start saying, "I'll learn what I need to along the way." You do not owe an explanation for every move you make. You don't need to justify your growth. You don't need to apologize for changing. And you certainly don't need to convince people who aren't doing the work you're doing. Most of the time, the loudest opinions come from the least committed people. You'll notice that people who are focused on their own path rarely try to control yours. They might offer perspective, but they don't demand that you follow their blueprint. They respect your right to choose, even if they would choose differently. That's the kind of support you want, the kind that respects your independence, the kind that trusts your ability to think, decide, and adapt. Backing your decisions also means living with the weight of them. If it works, you grow. If it doesn't, you grow. Either way, you take full ownership. You don't blame. You don't deflect. You reflect. You learn, and you continue. That kind of responsibility builds resilience. You get mentally stronger because you're no longer outsourcing accountability. There's a powerful shift that happens when you stop looking over your shoulder. You start acting faster. You stop hesitating every time something feels uncertain. You stop waiting for everyone to agree before you move. You take initiative. You start living like your decisions matter, because they do. Some of your decisions will work out better than others. That's life. But no decision is more damaging than the ones you didn't make because you were afraid to stand alone. Silence doesn't protect you. It holds you back. Every day you wait for someone else's green light is a day you could have been building. If you constantly need people to agree with you, you'll find yourself chasing approval more than progress. You'll spend more energy pleasing others than developing yourself. And at some point, you'll wake up tired, not physically, but emotionally. Tired of trying to meet everyone's expectations. Tired of shrinking to stay accepted. Tired of pretending you don't want more. You have the right to back yourself even when others don't understand yet. You have the right to believe in your choices before results show up. You have the right to take risks that others wouldn't. That doesn't make you reckless. It makes you a leader in your own life. Make decisions based on where you're going, not on who might disapprove. Speak clearly. Act decisively. And when doubt shows up, and it will remind yourself that you don't need the world to agree with your direction. You only need to keep walking in it. The longer you wait to trust yourself, the harder it becomes. That's not because you're weak, it's because you're reinforcing hesitation. Confidence grows when you choose to move without applause. When you back your vision without waiting for cheers. When you learn to be your own support system, instead of relying on the opinions of people who aren't even living the life you want. You don't have to be defiant, you just have to be clear. Clear about what you value. Clear about what you want. Clear about what you're building. Once you have that, other people's opinions start to lose their grip on you. And remember, most people are more focused on their own doubts than your decisions. They're not thinking about you as much as you believe they are. Don't waste your life trying to win the approval of people who aren't even watching closely. Live boldly. Choose with confidence. Adjust when necessary. But above all, back your decisions, not because they're always perfect, but because they're yours. That's where your strength comes from. That's how you lead. That's how you grow. That's how you build a life you can be proud of. One step, one choice, one strong decision at a time. Chapter 8. Operate daily from self-trust. Operate daily from self-trust because the world becomes far more manageable when you no longer second-guess yourself at every step. When you start living each day grounded in your own judgment, you stop depending on circumstances to feel okay. You stop needing constant confirmation that you're doing life the right way. You stop hesitating with every choice, wondering what someone else might think. Self-trust is not arrogance. It's not pretending you have all the answers. It's a quiet strength that says, even if I don't know everything, I'll figure it out. You learn to trust yourself not by hoping for it, but by proving it to yourself over and over. Every small promise you keep to yourself matters. Every time you say you'll do something and actually follow through, you add a brick to the foundation of your inner strength. Most people break their own trust, not because they're bad people, but because they keep letting their excuses run the show. They hit snooze, delay action, put off their goals, and then wonder why they feel scattered. Self-trust begins when you stop treating your own word like an option. Operating from self-trust means you don't wait to be told what to do every time life becomes unclear. You don't freeze every time things don't go as planned. You don't collapse under pressure. You pause, you breathe, you ask yourself what matters right now, and then you act. You become your own leader. Not just when things are smooth, but especially when they're not. Every decision you make during the day is either an act of self-trust or an act of self-avoidance. When you choose the harder path because you know it aligns with your goals, that's trust. When you stay silent to avoid discomfort even though something inside you says to speak, that's avoidance. Over time, these choices define how you see yourself. They define whether you respect the person you are becoming. It's not about being perfect. That's not the goal. The goal is to be reliable, to know that even on your worst day, you won't abandon your values, that when it's tempting to drift into distraction, you'll still show up. That when you're misunderstood, you won't spiral into self-doubt. You'll stand firm in who you are because you've trained yourself to be that person. You cannot build a strong life on a shaky foundation, and there is nothing more shaky than a person who doubts themselves every time life gets uncertain. You become strong when you can say, I've been through enough, I've learned enough, I may not know everything, but I trust myself to take the next. Self-trust is the most underrated kind of confidence. It doesn't need attention. It doesn't need to be loud. It shows up in the way you start your day, in the way you plan your time, in the way you respond when nothing is going your way. People can feel it even if they can't name it. It's the calm that shows up in your tone, the certainty that shows up in your actions, The discipline that shows up in your habits. And it starts early. It starts when your alarm goes off and you decide not to break the promise you made last night. It starts when you open your schedule and follow through on what you said you'd do. It starts when you stop making excuses for things you know matter. These little decisions feel small, but they train your identity. They reinforce that you're someone who can be counted on even by yourself. Many people live their lives reacting to everything around them. They're pulled by emotion, influenced by everyone's opinion, and drained by the constant pressure to keep up. But when you trust yourself, you don't chase every trend. You don't jump at every demand. You know your direction, and you stay in control of your time, energy, and choices. It doesn't mean you ignore advice. It means you're selective. You listen, you learn, but you filter it through your own judgment. You don't follow someone's path just because they sound confident. You don't abandon your plan just because someone else is moving faster. You move at your own pace, not because it's easy, but because it's aligned. Every day is a test of your priorities, and without self-trust, you'll keep changing them based on whatever feels urgent. But when you operate from self-trust, you build your days with intention. You don't allow pressure to pull you away from what matters. You stick to your plan. You take responsibility when you fall short, and then you get back to work without drama, without delay. Self-trust doesn't mean you never doubt. It means you don't let doubt win. It means when your mind says, "What if you fail?" you answer with action. When your emotions pull you toward comfort, you return to discipline. When fear tells you to wait, you remind yourself that you've waited long enough. You can always tell when someone has built self-trust. They carry a different energy. They're not desperate for attention. They're not constantly trying to prove something. They're grounded. They move with intention. They're honest about their flaws, but they don't let those flaws define them. They've earned their own respect, and that changes everything. If you've spent years doubting yourself, it's not too late. You don't need a massive moment to change your life. You need one clear decision, followed by daily action. You rebuild trust the same way it's broken. One small choice at a time. Wake up and keep your word. Speak with honesty, even when it's uncomfortable. Stick with your priorities even when the results are slow. Eventually, you won't need to keep asking, "Can I do this?" You'll already know the answer, because you've proven it, you've lived it, you've built it, and that's when you become powerful, not because of talent or luck, but because you've trained yourself to follow through. You've created a pattern of action, a habit of self-respect, a mindset that says, "If it matters, I'll do it. If it's hard, I'll grow through it. If I fall, I'll get back up." Operate daily from self-trust, and you won't need to chase confidence. You'll be living in a way that naturally builds it. You'll stop trying to feel ready and start moving, because you are ready. You'll stop looking outside for strength and start building it inside. And over time you'll become the kind of person who not only makes progress, but sustains it. You'll wake up each day not asking, "What should I do?" but deciding, "This is what I will do." That's the difference between someone who hopes and someone who leads. That's the difference between feeling stuck and moving forward. That's the difference between living in fear and living with purpose. Choose that difference. Choose self-trust. And choose to live like you mean it. One decision, one action, one day at a time. Chapter 9. Respect yourself enough to demand more. Respect yourself enough to demand more, because the life you settle for becomes the standard you live by. If you accept less than you deserve, not because you lack talent but because you lack boundaries, then the world will keep giving you less. The way you treat yourself is the instruction manual for how others treat you. When you act like your time, your goals, your health, and your peace matter. People notice even if they never say it. And more importantly, you notice. You start showing up with a different energy, not because someone told you to, but because you finally realized what you're worth. You don't need to wait for someone to hand you permission to raise your standards. You don't need approval to want more, to expect better, or to demand what aligns with your vision. The person who respects themselves isn't ungrateful, they're honest. They know when something isn't good enough. They know when a situation doesn't match their potential, and they're no longer afraid to walk away from anything that keeps them small. This mindset starts with ownership. Nobody owes you more until you prove to yourself that you're serious. You can't demand more while living like you're okay with less. You can't ask for respect while tolerating things that break your values. You can't expect better outcomes while continuing the same behaviors that have led to your current reality. Respecting yourself means being brutally honest about where your choices are taking you. It means asking, if I keep doing what I'm doing now, where will I end up? And if that answer doesn't align with your vision, it's time to make some hard decisions. You don't just wake up one day with more, you create it, you build it through consistency. You earn it by cutting off distractions, by setting stronger boundaries, and by no longer pretending that average is acceptable. You stop chasing validation and start chasing discipline. You stop complaining about what's missing and start showing up like you're responsible for changing it. Demanding more isn't about entitlement, it's about clarity. It's about no longer confusing comfort with happiness. A lot of people stay in routines that feel familiar, but are slowly breaking their spirit. They tell themselves it's fine. But you don't grow in fine. You grow when you expect more from your time. You grow when you stop saying yes to everything that steals your energy. You grow when you stop settling for friendships that drain you, jobs that limit you, and habits that numb you. The moment you decide you're done with average is the moment your standards rise. And that shift, although internal, changes your entire environment. You start walking into rooms differently. You speak with more certainty. You take your work more seriously. You no longer allow your goals to be optional. You stop asking for a break from your responsibilities and instead build the discipline to carry them well. Raising your standards will cost you. It will cost you comfort. It will cost you approval. It might even cost you relationships with people who only supported the weaker version of you. But what you gain in return is peace. Not the peace that comes from avoiding hard things, but the peace that comes from becoming who you were meant to be. This level of self-respect doesn't come overnight. It's built day by day. It's built when you choose the workout instead of the excuse. It's built when you speak your truth instead of staying quiet to keep the peace. It's built when you turn off the distraction and focus on the task. It's built when you keep your word to yourself, even when no one else would know if you broke it. You start asking better questions. Not, is this good enough, but is this aligned with who I want to be? You stop asking, will they be okay with this? Start asking, am I okay with this? You don't lower the bar to stay liked. You raise the bar to stay proud of yourself. There's a moment in every person's life when they get tired, not physically, but emotionally tired of settling. Tired of living in patterns that go nowhere. Tired of pretending that mediocrity is enough. That moment is when everything can change. Not because circumstances suddenly improve, but because they find